Hello and welcome, my snow donkeys. How you doing in this wonderful day? It's Super John Bombo here, and we've got another excellent video for you guys. Today we're focusing on just regular, easy old tree stump. We're going to be playing on hard today for you guys. So this is an episode that probably most people don't need to watch, right? This is a guide video that generally people probably have already beaten this or kind of got it down pat or whatnot. So this is more for people who just want some eye candy while they're having some fun, just sort of chilling in the background. And or if they want to listen to Chris's personal podcast, basically. And Chris's personal podcast is going to be about stars today. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about what stars are and kind of like why stars are cool to me. And why space is just interesting to me, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about today. And of course, we're going to go into a little bit, just a little bit, of detail about what we're doing with our strategy. But our base strategy is going to be all about the tack zone today. We're going to build a tack zone basically right here, trying to get in range of Pat Fusty if possible. Basically, when Pat gets a little bit bigger range here, we should be able to get the tack hero in range, even though it doesn't even matter that much on hard. Only 80 rounds so far. Not going to be too bad for us. But basically, we want to power this guy up to the absolute max, kind of support him with a few things around here, and then get something to sort of just clean up the rest of the balloons, like a spike factory in the back or something like that. And that should be good enough for us. So, that all being said, whenever you're doing a quick dart monkey like this, just put him on last here, he's good. That's all we need to get. Nice dart monkey, got pop and power, got cam detection, feeling good. Alright, so let's talk about stars. Now, in my previous video, I tried to explain kind of the size of the universe and how it's so grand and so big that it's hard to comprehend. But in that process of saying how hard it is to comprehend, I kind of realized it's very hard to explain. When you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it all, explaining something that's hard to even wrap your brain around is even harder to try to explain to somebody and have them wrap their head around it. So I apologize if I confused any of you guys or I made you do any loops or feel bad about my previous video, man. I didn't mean to do that, alright? But we're going to push on, alright? We're not going to talk too much about the universe, but I just wanted to say that I'm always been a space buff. I've always loved space. I don't know what it is about space that really intrigues me, but the main idea is that I think at least the main idea is that it's not like the final frontier, but it's one of the frontiers. And I've always been a curious person. I've always wanted to know more. What could I possibly know? What don't we know as a civilization? You know, we're starting to figure out all these things with science. You know, I think we just generally make science a very broad, like, nounish, verbish thing, like just everything encompassing science, baby. And that can get a little confusing for people. Like, what is science? I mean, sometimes people just say, like, I like science because they like, you know, learning about animals. You know, like, that is a type of science, you know? Science has almost become, like, learning about things. Which, of course, people should like science because it's learning about things. If you don't like learning about things that exist in life around you, it's kind of weird, I think. You know, I think a lot of people have a curious nature about them or something like that. Well, I've always been a curious person, my entire life. I've always just never necessarily believed people at the very hint of them saying something. I've always just sort of questioned things. At least I like to question things. Sometimes, if there's somebody that I really, really like or I trust, I just sort of believe them, even though I shouldn't. But I've always been a questioner. But here's our basic strategy, guys. We've got this tack zone here. He's doing pretty well. Next, we're going to get a quick alchemist. So we're going to pop him down here. We're going to get him up to a stronger stem. If you want to, you can start using Pat's abilities and all that stuff. But realistically, you're good for now. We got a 3-2 village here, so that's going to be our cam detection on everybody. And then we're going to power this guy up with a stronger stem. And then eventually, after that, you're basically golden for a long, long time. We're going to buy the tack zone. Easy as that. I think we win the game. We can buy more stuff after that, but I think we win the game after we get our tack zone. We should get about around like 53, 54, maybe something like that. Maybe a little longer than that. You know, we need another 20 grand or so. But lots of money comes in from this round until around 55 or so. So, anyways, I basically wanted to focus on stars, though. You guys know that I like the universe. I like all this stuff, so I try to learn about it for my entire life. And I guess just because I have a liking for it, it makes it more exciting for me to talk about it, I guess, and try to explain it to people and get my passion to be almost your passion. I think the most interesting thing about stars is kind of where they came from. Obviously, the Big Bang happened, and then for a little while, there was actually no stars. I think it was something like, was it 100,000 years or 100 million years or something like that? I don't know the exact numbers. It's a long time without any light. No light existed for a while. The first light that happened was probably from a star. And these first stars were like gigantic, mega, huge mungo stars. And what's counterproductive, or counterintuitive, is that these big stars actually burn out extremely fast because they have so much energy and they're, they have so much gravity and pressure pushing down on them. They actually make more energy, shooting it all out in all directions. It's kind of almost like a volumetric thing. Like when you think about like the volume of a sphere, if you have a very, very small sphere like a golf ball, like the space around it is, the volume of it's fairly small. But you increase the diameter to that golf ball, 2 times to a tennis ball, and you can see how much more volume that thing has. It's just so much bigger. Then you go to a basketball, I mean, that's only like, what, 4 or 5 tennis balls across, and all of a sudden, frickin' it's huge, man. So, like, you can see how this small change in, here we go. Whoop, tax zone. Well, we're good. The small change in, volume can really like change everything so drastically. So big stars actually burn out really, really fast. So the very first stars of the universe had a lot of energy, a lot of gas. They were just kind of exploding, shooting it out. And a lot of them, or basically almost all of them, probably either turned into black holes right away, if they were super, super massive, or they just exploded into a supernova and released all of their gas all over the universe. Now what's interesting about this supernova process is that it basically spews all that stuff out, but then there's stuff left over. There's a lot of stuff left over. And that can kind of, especially with many supernova kind of close together and stuff like that, called exploding. You can have other stars, sort of, or other, like, protostars, sort of like almost merging and absorbing all this other gas from exploding stars. And that's kind of where our star came from. It came from the remnants of other exploded stars. Or at least some of it did. And it took all this stuff in, and it absorbed it all, and it turned into the sun. All right, wonderful. It turned into the sun, just like that, man. Whoop, there it is. And what's interesting about that is the only way that really, like, our entire solar system could have that, the only reason we know that this is the way it happened is because all the heavier elements beyond something like iron, or maybe a little bit heavier than iron. That's kind of a weird thing to think about, but a little bit heavier than iron, all must have formed from a supernova. The stars don't actually make anything slightly heavier than iron in their core without a supernova. But the supernova has so much energy, so much stuff, that it can create this super, super heavy elements. So things like uranium and stuff like that, all that stuff came legit from a supernova star. Yeah, kind of crazy to think about, right? That's what's so interesting about all those elements. Every single one came from a supernova exploding star. So all the lighter elements doesn't necessarily come from that, but because they exist around us, they basically did. They basically must have. But one interesting thing about our star is that it actually is kind of like right in the middle of its life cycle. It formed about 5 billion years ago, and it'll live for another roughly 5 billion years before it eventually turns into kind of like a red giant, and then eventually explodes. No, it won't explode. I'm sorry, guys. It's so sad, right? You think it was going to explode, it won't. It'll kind of become kind of big, and then it'll just slowly die. That's how our star is going to die. Which is also interesting, that all these stars can have different life cycles. You can have certain stars that turn into black holes. You can have certain ones that just kind of explode into a giant supernova explosion. You have certain ones that turn into like white dwarfs and like slowly die. You can have certain ones that sort of like have turn into like white dwarfs, but like suck energy off of other stars and like make mini supernovas and things like that. Like there's all these weird things that happen with stars. And what's also kind of crazy is that all this stuff is really, really rare, but because there's so many stars in our galaxy and so many stars in the universe, we actually see it happen kind of often. Like in human lifetimes, even though the life cycle of stars is usually billions of years. It can happen in our changes can happen in our life. We can like look up and see it happen every once in a while. That's also another interesting thing. Anyways, yeah, we got $38,000 here, but this is the way to do it, guys. We just absolutely owned over here. But our star is just honestly kind of cool. It's like directly in the middle of everything. I don't know how it's just so perfect, but it just is. Maybe it's our own personal like view of things that sort of affects this a little bit. We sort of just, like, put us in the middle of all this stuff. But, like, we're a main sequence star. We're, like, in a very average star in the universe. We're right in the middle of our life cycle. Boom. We came from the remnants of another supernova. So, like, we know that we have all these extra elements and stuff like that that wouldn't exist otherwise. Our star is just kind of cool like that. But, yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys today. Some random thoughts for you guys to think about there about stars and all that fun stuff in there. We're about to finish it off here. As you can tell, Tack Zone's really the guy to go for right now. It's perfect on this map. You get a long time where they're kind of in this general area, and even if they do sneak through, you have an entire area over here where you can still sort of hit them, even though you can't necessarily see them, which is interesting too. There it is, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you press that like button for me. Subscribe if you have not. Of course, have a super duper delicious day.